Okay, Shalom and Rastafari. This is Beruku one, and responding to a comment I seen on my page about I and I Beruku one that responded to the brother Obijah, Omar Tabijah, right? Omar Tabijah, which this is old. I think it was a vid that I and I had did in what here we goes 5/1/13. So it was well, actually this comment was made about a day or so ago, and I didn't see it. I didn't have a chance to see it. I actually have been attending to some other things and taking care of some other work, so I haven't been able to get to the the computer like I really wanted to and check out some things. But I'm looking at this comment here that this brother had sent I, right? And anyways, we want to listen to this comment. I just want to kind of correct you on some of the stuff you were saying here on this comment. Anyhow, what the brother said was Igazia Behir, right? From the church of Haile Selassie through the body of Jesus Christ, right? So, anyway, the brother says detraction is of the devil and not of the gospel, right? And then know this first, right? So, anyway, he says, know this first, right? That life eternal is Skedamawi Haile Selassie, which we agree, and, right, his son, Primus St. Crux, John 17:3. Now, we'll get into that. You understand? We'll get into that. I will get into that more, a little bit more deep, because there's a little bit more detail there than just that. Also, second, His Majesty, right, is, I think he meant to put, second, His Majesty would seek, or His Majesty seeks, right, for those who worship Him in Christ, doctrine and truth, John 4:23, right, not according to the carnal tradition. Now, first of all, when we get into carnal tradition, what you might need to know about His Imperial Majesty is His Imperial Majesty is a man of the custom. He's a man of the custom, so I'm not sure exactly what of the tradition of what tradition exactly did you see that what I is replying to Omar Tabijah that was carnal. I don't know what you saw that was carnal in that vid. In fact, what I was addressing to Omar Tabijah, what we were speaking on, was the concept of the supernatural not existing, which is false. To say that the idea that the supernatural doesn't exist, actually that comment itself is false. That's actually not true. To say the supernatural doesn't exist, because actually the concept is basically the idea of the spirit world. So when you're dealing with the supernatural and the spirit world, these two words become under the same concept or the same idea, meaning that the spirit world or the supernatural world does exist. And that's basically what the argument was about. You understand? Okay, it says not carnal tradition, apostate doctrine. So let's see what else the brother says. He says Rastafari is Jehovah. Is Jehovah, not a religion. Okay, now first of all, what we'll say to you, right, is that what we have been learning from His Imperial Majesty lately is that this type of this saying right here, this Jehovah is not a religion thing. Or that His Imperial Majesty Rastafari, Beruku Igazia, which would be Yahweh or Yahweh or Jahaya, if you will, even Jahaya. You understand? And the V should not even be there. If once you get into the deeper linguistics, if we go back beyond the English translation to the Hebrew, or we go into the biblical scriptures, which is based on the Afro-Shemitic theology or Afro-Shemitic text, in which we know that these European theology ideas, like with the V sounds and things like that, more so these sounds come from the Yiddish Hebrew, which didn't come about until about 1940 or so. Okay? 1940 or so, somewhere around that. And we're speaking on that about the Jewish Holocaust. Now, another thing is about the Jewish Holocaust. What happens a lot of times, we're not saying that folks weren't tortured, the things didn't happen to them. But what we understand is that they absolutely dismiss the African Holocaust, right? And this allows them to dismiss the fact that the Ethiopians are Hebrews And who are the 12 tribes of Israel? Now, what we want to do for a second here is that we're going to go get some paperwork out when we get into this about Rastafari. Basically, we're going to, kind of ignore this part by just saying Rastafari is Jehovah or Jaja Beruku, or Jahaya or Yahweh is really what it's meant to say, or Yahuwah, some would say. Some would say Yahuwah, like the ancient Judeans would use they would say the Yahuwah part, depending on, what time, what certain linguistics were revealed at what time, which is more, that's more like absolute critical evidence that it would call for some research itself. It would call for research itself, a deeper study, and just going over it like right now wouldn't do it. So we'll get into that. But anyhow, what you say here is that Rastafari is not a religion. You're wrong about that. Y'all are wrong about that. In fact, this is actually what's taken away a lot of our sovereignty. A lot of brothers running around here talking about Rastafari is not a religion. Because if you go into a courthouse and you say that, then you'll be thrown out. And anything that you thought like your spirituality will get you no grounds in the Gentile courts. I don't know if you know this or not, but maybe you might want to go do some research. Spirituality, the judge is going to ask you when you go into court, okay? When you walk into court, the judge is going to say, why do you have that crown on, or what is known as a crown? Because we already had in fact, on Rastafari Sabbatical, if you go and back up some videos, go to youtube.com, Rastafari Sabbatical, and we have a brethren by the name of Raziadinos Teferi, or anglicized Iadonis, Raz Iadonis Teferi. Please go look him up on the YouTube, because he's already did the research, and we've already gotten to this thing about this religion thing. So this comment that you're leaving here about Rastafari is not a religion, I absolutely don't agree with, and you're wrong. Because from what we know, His Imperial Majesty teaches us that Rastafari, or the Tawa'ido faith, right, which means that church and state are one, if you know anything about that. See, that's deeper in doctrine. That's in Christos' doctrine, like you was talking about up here, about for those who worship Him in Christ's doctrine, right? But we know that His Imperial Majesty is Christ as well, right? Because they are Elohim, right? Because we know that in Elohim is a tripartite name, right? Which is Elohim. Then you have what is known as Elohim again. Then we have Jehovah, and then we have Adonai. And just in that order too, if I'm not mistaken, from the Schofield Study Bible reference notes. Exactly in that order. In fact, if you go into the Schofield Study Bible reference notes, okay, and you probably could even go to it online. I think they even have that version online. You can go into it, and what it will do is it will take you into the introduction of those names, and it'll break those names down for you. Now, the thing is that when you're dealing with Elohim, you're dealing with the tripartite God. Now, inside of the tripartite God, we'll go over it again. You have what is something like the franchise name, and more exactly is Elohim again, right? One. And then you have secondly is what you call over here is Jehovah, or is really Yahweh or Jahaya. You know what I'm saying? Which is the most vehement Elohim which liveth, because Jah, if you know anything, is H 3050, I believe, in the Hebrew, or it's 3068. One of those two, but they lead to each other. Go look it up. But anyhow, Jah means the most vehement of Elohim. That's what it means. And then this part right here, over, really the V sound is the forced Yiddish sound. So there is no V sound. So it will be higher, Jahaya. And then when you say it's not a religion, the Tawa'ido faith does not say that. So that's a prophetic error. That's a prophetic error when you say that Rastafari is not a religion. Rastafari, brother, I'll have you know, is a nationality, it's a government and a religion. Meaning, basically, the basic, to put it down into more Gentile, more modern day European form is actually Rastafari, brother, is a religion of church and state. So it's not only a nationality, an Ethiopian nationality, it's a spirituality and a religion. Now, how do we know that? Because of Tawa'ido, which makes our faith, our church, and government one. Okay? This is what Rastafari is about. This is the problem why they say that the Rastafarians right now are half-stepping out here in the government game. You know what I'm saying? Because you're getting beat in the government game because you're always over here talking about that Rastafari is not a religion, but that it's a spirituality. But if you know anything about Tawa'ado, about living faith, the Tawa'ado, that faith that makes it one, right? In fact, we'll probably have to go into the word Tawa'ado in just a moment here. But now, it's a spirituality and a religion. It's not just what you're saying here, that it's not a religion. That's false. In fact, the very word religion means to tie back, just as His Imperial Majesty does in Revelations 5:5. Okay? His Imperial Majesty is that Christ which ties back, or He buys back, or tying back, which is also almost a representation of Bemejameria. If you look into some of my vids, I was speaking on that as well. So this over here, right, what you talking about over here, talking about Rastafari is Jehovah, right? Technically, if you really want to get down to the point, deeply to the point, you're incorrect. Jah is not Jehovah, actually. When we get into the deeper linguistics of this Jehovah, we found out actually that Jehovah was it's more of a goddess type of name, or it was more of it was a feminine. It had a feminine. In fact, this is when back in ancient Egypt, when they were still under the motherhood and they didn't really know the fatherhood that well. So, see, I done my research because I researched these words, sound, and power. If you remember that His Imperial Majesty Haile Selassie Beruku Igazia Beheld El Rey Naaya, blessed be He, Jaja Beruku, our shepherd. If you know anything about him, you would know that he wrote the new translation, one for the old and the new to understand, right? Which is the current, the Amarenya, or the Metzahafi Kedusi, which is the book of the seven seals, right? Which is the book of the seven seals, which is the Bible written in Amharic by Christ Himself, which is His Imperial Majesty Gedamawi Haile Selassie Beruku, blessed be He. Now, the faith that we live by is Tawa'ado. If you know anything about His Imperial Majesty, the way he was dealing with the UN, right? The way he was dealing with the United Nations, and at his time during his reign, okay, what he was seeking to establish was he was trying to show the people that it wasn't just about itself spirituality, but then we had to have sovereignty as well. See, because this is about land and resources. Okay, in order to collect that land and resources, which we currently don't have. In fact, there are. If you look at the situation that's going on in Shashamani since about last year in April or the year before that, right? They've been actually giving the people a hard time and kicking them off the land, all because of these false values and traits. Talking about Rastafari is not a religion. These things are getting us kicked off of our land. Because, see, if you know anything about Rastafari is church and state. And you can read that in the EWF, or the Ethiopian World Federation. A lot of brothers will come over here talking about this, this so-called Christian love and some of these other things about Rastafari, Beruku, but then you can sit up and say something that Rastafari is Jehovah, is not a religion. Think about what you're saying when you say that. A lot of brothers will say that the Rastafari is not a religion, it's a spirituality. What you don't understand is that we understand the false concepts that were brought about with religion. The word religion itself is not bad. But we have people who have used religion, right, for their own purposes. Maybe for money purposes, maybe for manipulative purposes. But either way, folks have taken religion and basically they've come up with an entirely new doctrine, or a divided doctrine, or the division of the clergy, such as the Catholic Church, if you will, for example. But this is when we get into translation and linguistics, when we go back into linguistics, okay? When we start to go back and we start to understand exactly what are we saying, exactly what are we talking about, and be careful prescribing things to the word of His Imperial Majesty. His Imperial Majesty never, ever, ever has said that. That's why we don't even understand where these brothers and sisters even get this idea that Rastafari is not a religion. Who told you that? You understand? Whoever told you that, they're telling you lies. Okay? And be careful, brother, and it would be better for you to go do your own research, right, before saying things that that are not even true. Okay, so the whole concept that Rastafari is not a religion is false. Rastafari is a religion and a spirituality. That's what the word Tawahido in Amarinya means. We can go into the 1841 Amharic dictionary by Charles Eisenberg. We can figure that out real quick if you would like. Okay? In fact, we might even have to do that so I can show you that Tawahido is one. It means one. It brings religion and spirituality together. To sum it all up for you, it's church and state in one. That means that our government and our spiritual practices are one. Okay? That's what it means. So stop saying Rastafari is not a religion before we lose more rights. Because we already lost rights. Just like they're incarcerating brothers and sisters right now for marijuana. When that's wrong. We understand that that's some will say it's a plant. Whatever your reasons may be, it's I&I's holy sacrament. It's Rastafari's holy sacrament. From the biblical scriptures declares that. Just like we were getting into the verse with Leviticus 21:5 a few days ago. Okay? With some individuals. So, please, it's better for you to do your research, right? Before you come trying to correct one talking about Rastafari is not a religion. This is the problem we have today. This is the type of, these type of, as ones would say, feel I softlies we got to get rid of. Get rid of that type of philosophy. Your own type of philosophy. Pick up a dictionary. Pick up a Hebrew dictionary and pick up an Amharic dictionary and pick up a blue letter Bible dictionary, and these things will come to you. Okay? That's why Jesus Christos, who they call Jesus Christ, even says that study my word to show yourself approved, right? He says, study my word. Study each word. That means the definition of that word. That means where that word came from, where they got the translation from, where did it come from the Greek. Where did it come from the Hebrew 70 Bible? Where did it come from Amarinya? What is the Ethiopic? And the deeper roots of this. We're not coming from this from an English perspective because the English did not invent the Bible. Okay, the Europeans did not invent the Bible. The Bible was invented in Africa. It was written in an Afro-Shemitic language. It was translated into English by King James and some other, some say Illuminatists, if you will, illuminist, and we don't even want to get deep into that because that's a whole nother research in itself. That's a whole nother vid in itself, if you will. Okay? And they put their little things and whatnot in there too, the little masonry craft, and some would say not masonry but Freemasonry, which there's a difference between masonry and Freemasonry. But masonry basically means to carve, or one who carves in stone, right? Or one who is basically like an architect in stone. And Freemasonry is referring to a secret society of individuals who congregate together in secret places. Okay? So please, before we have these little discrepancies, before we want to come and criticize other of I, you claim to be Rastafari. No, we don't agree with you that Rastafari is not a religion. That's not true. Rastafari is a religion. It's a spirituality and a religion. We have to be able to prove ourselves in court. That's why we keep getting done over by the government, because you don't know law. We should be our own lawyers instead of hiring lawyers. You're supposed to be fighting for your rights, not taking them away. Okay, and let's see what you say. Third, the sun, which is Pramus is, and you probably got that from the Greek, right? We'll go more deeper into the Ethiopic on that for you. All right, more ancient than any creature. Right, here we go. More ancient than any creature. 3 Hermas, 9 110 Christian love. So what we'll do is we'll get into that because we'll comment on that. We'll say some more, but I just want to say this. This was absolutely, no, this is false. The Rastafari is not a religion. That's false. And I wouldn't go around preaching that, because what you're doing is you're misleading the sheep. Misleading the lost sheep. It's already a people who are already lost about religion as it is today, and it's already hard to explain the truth to them because of all the foul and fallacies and the falseness that white supremacy has caused. It's already hard enough to tell people the truth in the first place. We're already trying to jump over that loophole, just the color of Jesus loophole. A lot of people still haven't got out of the bed about that. So we're gonna pause for the cause. I and I pause for the cause, and we just want to respond to this comment. I and I just seen it when I had the chance, and I just want to respond back to you, brother. Not brother, but I don't know you, but whatever you may be. Hopefully, you may be my brother when you get the truth right. Talking about Rastafari is not a religion. Rastafari is a religion and a spirituality. I don't know what you talking about. Tawa'id mean church and state together, brother. We are one. That means that everything we do government-wise is by the book. By the book, and what book do you think we're talking about? We're talking about the biblical Bible. The Bible, the scriptures, and the New Testament. Okay? So, that's the Old Testament, New Testament, in case you didn't understand what I just said there. The Old Testament and the New Testament. So, Rastafarian Shalom.